Welcome to the Brotherly Ballers podcast with your hosts, Jack Vickers and Tyler Herman.
What up, Bod Squad, Brotherly Baller Squad? Welcome back for another edition. We are coming in for some Week 9 preview action. We're going to be talking, as always, just injuries and frustrations and close calls and how you did in your matchups, how you're going to win your next matchups, all that good stuff. And we have a little pump-up song draft preview, some stuff to get the blood flowing. So we got that to look forward to and a lot of our games. But first off, Tyler, bring us in. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. Week 9, we're over halfway done. We're at the tail end. Bye weeks, we're in the thick of it. Bye weeks are starting to kill us. So everybody enjoyed the Week 8 with no buys, and now we're back to it with okay teams on bye this week. And Week 10 gets really ugly with a lot of teams on bye. So buckle up, folks.
It's getting rough if it isn't already. I mean, I'm sure most of you like me are dragging your teams half lifeless across the halfway point here. So it's a tough one, but a lot of stuff to get into. So as always, just quick, check us out on YouTube, subscribe. Helps us out if you comment your thoughts. You know, if you just watch along this episode and you're like, that was a stupid take, that was cool, I picked this one as you go, that helps us out a lot. So appreciate that. We'll get into some crazy stories and things to kick off the episode. So our first favorite segment we like to do, as always, So as always, I plan to have like 3 to 4 of these and really dive into them, but then I end up with just too many that are like, this is cool, I have to put this one in, and then I get done and there's 10. So I'll just kind of read them out as I go. These are the ones that I've come across since last week's episode, and if there's anything to react fantasy or just like interest-wise, feel free. Otherwise, I'll just kind of keep them going. So without further ado, jumping in here, Devon Achane, one of my boys. We always talk about him basically setting records and paces and whatever, but so I thought this one was noteworthy. As we all know, Achane has had a much better season than his teammate Jalen Waddle on the Dolphins. But what if I told you that Achane has scored more fantasy PPR points from just his receiving production than Waddle has this season?
That's absolutely ridiculous.
So much worse.
That's so brutal. I'm so excited for Jalen Waddle to hopefully be a thing again now that Tua is back.
Someday, hopefully. Yeah, and if Waddle can ever stay healthy too, that'd be cool.
True.
But number 2, another one of my kind of like under the radar boys that I apparently just support all the time. But Roschon Johnson, I feel like I have a fun fact about him every week. This one, I believe, was from Jordan. Shout out to Jordan sending this one in too. But he's the only player in the NFL with a 100% touchdown rate on carries within the 5, minimum 4 attempts.
That's actually bonkers.
Yeah.
Give the man the ball inside the 5, he's putting it in the end zone.
Which I figured there'd be a few others that were eligible also. So the fact that like there isn't, and also he's the only one, blew my mind. So, but don't worry, we've got a really inefficient weapon to use instead on the goal line. DeAndre Swift, Mr. never puts it in the end zone. So this one's sad in recent news from the last couple of days, which we'll get into in a bit. But the least accurate passer in the last 20 years. Previously, the record was held by Tim Tebow with a 46.5% completion in 2011. It's now been broken by Anthony Richardson at 44.4%. So, there's that. Flipping things around with quarterbacks that are doing well. Most games with 5 or more passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions in their career. It's a tie for the lead with Brady and Breeze at 8. And then we've got Peyton, Big Ben Roethlisberger, and Aaron Rodgers tied at 5 with now Lamar Jackson, who's done it in just 84 games compared to their 200 plus for everybody else. So pretty crazy for just a running back. Continuing the Lamar hype train, there have been 5 games in NFL history in which a quarterback has 50 or more rushing yards and 5 passing touchdowns. Lamar is 3 of those 5.
He's ridiculous. He's an absolute cheat code.
Yeah. Continuing the Ravens hype train, not just Lamar, but Derrick Henry's ranks this season in rushing key categories. Total rushes, first. Yards, first. Touchdowns, first. Yards per rush, rushing first downs, longest rush, scrimmage yards, and scrimmage touchdowns, all first. Yeah, there's that.
Also a monster.
He's currently on pace for 2,271 total yards, including receiving work, obviously, which would be 13th most all time, despite the fact that he really doesn't get much receiving work. So, I mean, pretty impressive.
Love it.
And then my last Ravens related fun fact, the top scoring players in fantasy this season, Lamar is number 1, as you'd expect. Quarterbacks are up there. He's got 177.9. Derrick Henry is number 2 over all other quarterbacks and non-quarterbacks with 160. So they have both. So yeah, there's that. All right, last couple of ones here, non-Ravens related. A Steelers quarterback has finished as a QB1 in 4 of the last 5 games. Just let
that is
sink
gross.
in. Yeah.
That is absolutely disgusting.
They're doing it with 2 different ones. They're that good. They can make both be amazing. The rare defensive fun fact on our show, which is primarily offense and fantasy, but Dexter Lawrence, beast on the defensive line, he's been double teamed on 63.3% of his pass rushes this season, which for context is the highest rate by any player since at least 2018, since they were tracking that, probably farther back. And yet, despite this, he still leads the NFL in sacks. So, dude's the real monster.
Absolute monster.
Brock Bowers is at 47 catches so far in the season. He's only 60 away through the rest of the season. Again, we're talking through week 8. 60 away the rest of the season from setting the rookie record for wide receivers, not just tight ends. And I feel like he's only going to continue to get more. So that was set by Puka at 107, and he's
stud.
It's doable. There's nobody else there. Yeah. In the last 4 games, the Lions have more touchdowns, 18, than Jared Goff has incompletions, 15.
I heard that one. That's ridiculously.
Oh, yeah, there's no stopping them.
No.
And then lastly, this one hurt, but it was so ridiculous I had to put it in. I mean, not for me because I don't like this player, but 20 quarterbacks and 16 NHL players have scored more points than Daniel Jones at MetLife Stadium since last year.
That is just rude. That's just a rude stat.
Yeah, the person that looked this up, I'm like, really? You got to hate on me that hard? Like, we're going tough. cross leagues here in the Brotherly Ballers show.
I love it.
That's all I got for you this week for This Shit is Bananas.
That was solid. I enjoyed that.
Moving into less fun stuff, we got the NFL news. So, Tyler, I'll let you kick us off because I did plenty of talking there. But I'll let you kick us off with the Vikings 60-second Thursday synopsis.
Here comes the misery, ladies and gentlemen. We knew it was around the corner. Jack and I, we've just continually tried to beat the drum. We were hoping we were wrong, but Vikings lost to the Rams 30-20. Granted, there were some questionable calls throughout, but we didn't do enough to win in the game either. So the face mask was brutal in the end zone at the very end of the game. I don't know how you missed that when he's the quarterback standing pretty much by himself. Right there. But ultimately, not much you can do about it. So lost 30-20. We couldn't play any defense. They just absolutely moved the ball at will. It was crazy that Puka was back so quickly. Nobody really expected that. So playing against him and Cup sounded much worse than having to play against DeMarcus Robinson. So is just unfortunate. And Kyron Gash just left and right. So it was pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah, the biggest thing that stood out for me, just kind of going off of what you've already said, but the extra piece to add in was just the lack of pass rush that I feel like we've all season had done such a great job with the pass rush, getting to the quarterback, causing pressures, causing turnovers. Like that's where that all led to, and it kind of put a Band-Aid on our secondary too, because they weren't having to cover for as long. We didn't expect to do that against the Lions because they have such an amazing offensive line, and Goff is capable of getting it out quickly. And if we blitz them, then he just dumps it out to Gibbs. But the fact that we still didn't do it against the Rams, which are known as a pretty middle of the road / mediocre pass offense, like pass protection wise, that was really disheartening. So that kind of more scares me, where it's like, okay, did teams figure out a script where we just kind of like making things work without being legitimate? Like, I hope that's not the case. And I'm not saying that I'm totally off the ship, but at the same time, it's like there was nothing. Like we were almost never getting to Stafford. The couple of times we did, it was some arm tackles where he just ducked under it and threw that one touchdown to Cup. And it was just like, it was just bad. And I feel like that's what exposed our secondary. So that scared me a lot too. And then not to mention the fact that we also lost Christian Darrisaw in the second half, out for the season now, which is that's big huge thing. I was texting one of my buddies during the game, and I was like, if this announcer doesn't stop. So during the game, first and second quarter, the announcers kept talking about like, oh yeah, a big key to the Vikings' success this far. All 5 offensive linemen have played every single game. There's been no combo other than the first starting 5. And I'm like, stop talking. And then the second half went down, and I go, oh, there it is. So
didn't take long.
Yeah. So anyway, moving ahead, looking into week 9, we have been flexed into the Sunday night football game versus the Colts. So we're at home, get to come back home after going to LA and then playing Detroit the week before. So get a long week. We get 3 extra days to hopefully prepare for them. Just got news today that Flacco's going to be starting, so that obviously changes what you have to game scheme for a little bit. But I guess overall, what are you feeling, Tyler? What are we like? What's the keys to success or defeat?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we said every single week. And it seems like when we've done it, we've won. And when we haven't, we've lost. We need to be able to get pressure. We need to be able to get to Flacco now more consistently and be able to disrupt that pocket. And it's not good for us that it's Flacco instead of Anthony Richardson, just with how dismal he's been. But again, he's much less mobile. That's obviously helpful, but he's incredibly accurate. So we blitz well enough and get to him well enough, we really should win this game because the Colts defense is brutal. So if nothing else, we on the offensive side just keep pedal to the metal, jump on them early, and continue that because it's not like the Colts offense is terrible. Like there's certainly plenty of good pieces there. This could be a high scoring game because both defenses can certainly be passed on.
Yep, totally agree. I just want to see us come out in the second half and continue whatever we're doing that works well. Because I feel like the amount of times that we've just lit it up in the first quarter, like I think the stat was showing even in the Rams game, it was like Vikings have outscored their opponents like 87-3 or some absurd number where it was like in the first quarter. And it's like, you just come out swinging. How are we letting teams back in this well? But it seems to be like as soon as we run out of the scripted plays that we just struggle or we don't game script to what their changes are going to make. I don't know. So I would love to see a complete game, even if it's not perfect. Like I don't need to see us up by 3 scores in the first half. I just want to see us like, we handled it. We're up 17-10. Cool. Second half, we win again, 17-14, like just consistently keep control of it. So,
yep.
Not ideal, obviously, losing back-to-back after the hot start, especially so quickly in a game that I feel like we should have handled. But yes, I mean, with Cub and Nakua, this is a very, very different team, probably a playoff team at this point. So trying to look ahead, the next 3 games, like including Indianapolis, are really easy. We do have Jacksonville and Tennessee after that, but now it's like a no-question thing to me, like where you have to win all 3, whereas before it was, I think I talked last week, like our 6-game stretch, it was kind of, I was building in 2 losses, and losing one of them right off the bat means like, okay, your margin for error is gone. You need to win these games and go in hot to the Bears in 4 weeks. So
yeah,
I still feel fine. I still feel like we can be, easily 9-3, even 8-4 at worst coming out of the stretch and still in plenty of good spot for the wild card. But if we want to have any chance of pushing for the division and really being like a threat in the first round, we need to step it up a bit. So that's all I got.
Yep. No, I'm with you. It should be a get right game for us at home. We should come out with piss and vinegar. We know, and we all know that the Vikings have it in the back of their mind as well. That like, hey, everybody thinks we're frauds. Everyone's thought we're frauds the whole time.
Yeah.
This is the stamp game to say, okay, hey, we've been on the road twice. We've gotten beat in one game that we kept close. This one felt like a flat spot against the Rams, and now it's come back home, and this is a take care of business game.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, I'll toss in too, we should have TJ Hawkinson back, so that'll change the offense very quickly and help Darnold.
Said he was fully healthy. Said he took off the questionable tag and first full practice today.
Love it. All right, moving into the NFL Pick'em here. We'll keep things speeding along. So through week 8, we had kind of everybody at the top basically falter a little bit with a 1-win, 1-loss type of thing. But as you'll see on the graphic there, Mac got Denver right, but then Miami wrong. I got the Lions over us, unfortunately, right. But then I got the Jets wrong in the surprise upset. Tyler did the same thing with the Jets, but he got the Chargers right. Nate following us with the Jets also. Got the Broncos right, though. Foster, one of the only 2-0 teams, getting Lions and Broncos correct. Nick, keeping it close at 9-7. He got the Lions right, Jets wrong, matching me. Connor, Rams and Chargers, all LA, got both of those right. And then Joe continuing the trend, 0-2. So not far out of it by any means. I mean, none of us really gained a game on Mac, which hurts, but we'll see as we go into week 9 here. So what do we got?
Oh yeah, we're not going to have a lot of movement. We're not going to have a lot of movement in week 9. So I think myself and Nate got our picks in early with the Vikings and the Saints, and then everyone just kind of followed suit. And so I saw Jax come in, and he's doing the Vikings and the Saints, and Nick doing the same thing, the Vikings and the Saints. Nate is flipping it, so he's trying to steal the game and go with Carolina over the Saints instead. But then some other ones, Max going with the Bengals over the Raiders, Foster's throwing the Chiefs out there. The Browns are out there against the Chargers as well. Browns at home look great with Jameis, so certainly don't mind that. It's a great time to get them off your usage chart. Connor going with the Patriots over Tennessee. Might as well coin flip game, get them off there. That could go either way. And then Joe going with the Bills, and then continuing his trend of picking against the Packers and going with the Lions over the Packers.
Yeah, the only one that stands out to me is Browns and Chargers. I think everybody's on the Jameis high, but I don't think the Chargers are a bad team by any means. And we were just, a week removed from the Browns not being able to do anything. So obviously new quarterback, got some playmakers, but I feel like that's going to be a low scoring kind of ground and pound type of game. Yeah. So we'll see.
Agreed.
All right. My biggest thing is just hoping that Derek Carr plays for the Saints. I mean, it's still against the Panthers, but that was kind of the basis of my pick is that because I was leaning Eagles over Jags otherwise. So we'll see. But yeah, a lot of close matchups kind of across the board. So
agreed.
Moving into the Minnesota season-long pick'em. Last week, Tyler took over the lead here, so we still have Tyler at the lead. That's all that matters right now. At 84 after a solid 12-win week, back-to-back 12 and 13s for Tyler. So keeping him up there. He would have been in sole possession of first, but he had the Bears over the last-second Commanders that kept him in a tie. So unfortunate for you, good for me, because that's what separated me and you getting 13. So I had the high score on the week, it turns out, making up a little bit more ground. We basically flip-flop. We've each got 25 points in the last 2 weeks. So that's helpful when everyone else is out there getting their 8s and 10s and stuff. So big ones that we called and talked about last week, Cardinals over Dolphins was basically a coin flip, 51%. Falcons over Tampa Bay, same thing, 48%. And then the Eagles over Bengals, even though the Bengals were technically the more picked team, the Eagles took care of business at the 55% mark. So looking into week 9, I'll just rattle through these quick and then Tyler can kind of give you guys some insight on them. But Texans I'm going with as the first winner. Next one, I have the Falcons in currently. I'm pretty torn on them versus the Cowboys because it's a 27-73, and that just feels like such a big divide. Like I think the Cowboys should be the lower team with how they've played, but it felt like it should be like more of a 40-60, 45-55 because the Falcons have been very like score 38 points on you, get blown out at home type of things. Like, I don't know how to feel. So we'll see if I flip-flop. But for now, I got them in there with the Bills, Bengals. I have the Browns, as we talked about, 36% versus the Chargers. This was another situation where it's just, I think it could go either way, but I'm picking the team that's the heavy underdog and trying to just steal the win and ride the Jameis high. Patriots, they're almost split at 53-47 versus Tennessee. I like this better if Drake May plays, but with the concussion issue, we're going to have to watch that one. Commanders, Saints, and then I've got the Ravens. Ravens versus the Broncos, both 5-3 teams, but the Ravens are favored 92-8%. So nobody cares about the records here. Cardinals and Bears, another one that feels like a coin flip. I'm going Arizona. I've just kind of seemed like I've believed in them more than consensus, and the fact that they're only the 47% team, just trying to pick the one that's not the favorite, but they're at home, so that kind of gives me a little bit more of an edge. Eagles, Lions, Rams over Seahawks in their divisional game, Vikings Sunday night, and then Chiefs. So running out with some pretty easy ones. Any differences for you?
Yeah, it's so funny. I actually ran through mine as soon as they came out a few days ago, and I was reading yours in the notes, and I'm like, I have literally no differences, which is crazy.
Perfect.
It usually
no
isn't
notes.
that. Usually there's one or two, but I think you nailed it on some of the big ones. Browns are at home. Jameis seems to have breathed life into them, and again, I don't think it's going to be like an absolute shellacking or anything like that. Like I think the Chargers obviously had a good breakout this last week as well. But Jameis just seems to give that team so much more offensive potential. I just don't know if the Chargers can score enough to keep up. Their defense is going to keep them in it, so it's going to be one of those low-scoring games. I agree. Cardinals at home, like you said, against the Bears. Bears shouldn't have won last week. Cardinals defense, granted, much worse in my opinion than the Commanders. But we'll see. So I took the Cardinals at home, and then the only other one is what you'll talk about here in a second is like I'm with you on your upset pick here.
Yeah. Going with the underdog pick of the week. Last one we went with the Falcons versus Tampa Bay. They still closed as far as the spread went. It was very, very close. So the week 9 one, the one I was really going through most of these and none were really standing out because the only ones I was questioning were like 50-50 anyway. And then I hit towards the end where it was the Lions as like the 82% favorite or 84% favorite, excuse me, over the Packers. Packers being only 16% just seems way too low for me. I know we have the question of whether Jordan Love plays with the groin injury, but assuming he does, the Packers always seem like they get up for big games where they're going against the top opponents, especially division rivals. Like the Packers never get blown out in these types of situations. So to have it seen as like a 16% underdog, despite them being also 5-2 right now. So I don't see it being a blow up any means. I feel like this could be a weird one where like they just kind of steal it and they keep it close. I think their defense has been playing much, much better and making turnovers happen. So we'll see if we finally get Jared Goff throwing more than like 2 incompletions, but I don't think I'm picking them outright to win because I still very strongly believe in the Lions. They were my Super Bowl pick on the NFC side, but I think this game is going to be closer and not the typical Lions games that we've been seeing lately where they're scoring 30, 38, 42 points kind of thing, like the Cowboys the other week. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is more of like a 24-20 type of game or a 27-21 type of thing where it comes down to the end. And I still do think the Lions win, but I think it's going to be much closer than people are expecting.
Yeah, agreed. Spread is plus 3.5, and so I'm on the plus 3.5 with Green Bay at home.
I take that.
I know it's
plus.
It's hard. It's hard because with the unknown about Jordan Love, but from the reports that came out today, they said he's a realistic shot. And Jordan Love says he's begging to play essentially, like he wants to play, understandably, in a huge divisional matchup for them and their future in the division as well. So I think he pushes through and goes through it. And Malik Willis is no pushover as well. I think on top of it, he's got some of that rushing ability. If that happens, they just probably keep it on the ground more. And Josh Jacobs has been doing pretty well and had kind of a little mini finally breakout with a couple touchdowns last week. So I'm with you. I'm taking the under on this one rather than the over, where it seems like it's two high-powered offenses. But those divisional games tend to be slogs, and they don't take big chances. So they tend to go under, and I'll take the points with Green Bay at home plus 3.5.
Yeah, the at home, the Lambeau factor is a big thing too. So
agreed. Jared Goff, home road splits are crazy for those that have never looked them up, and especially on the road, the outdoors. Dominator. It's not looking good. So give me the pack.
A little bit of wind, a little bit of just crappy rain conditions in Wisconsin. Let me tell you, that's a very different team. So moving into the Bomb Squads and Butt Cheeks mini update. I finally took the time to actually pull up the Excel sheet this time because I wanted to see. Al already had the records and everything updated, so I didn't even have to do it myself, so shout out to him. But I wanted to see kind of how everybody was like spreading out, and then also which teams were maybe like due for some positive or negative regression. But as far as the teams going for the wins, we got Rob at 16, Garlic at 15, and 3 other teams tied at 13. And then losses, we got myself, your boy, Truly, at 17 losses. Easton at 15, despite having the 49ers, Dolphins, and Jets. So he was not going for losses, if you can tell based on that. And then Walters and Mark are tied at 14. Mark's got the Vikings, so I mean, that can kind of go either way. He's got, Vikings, Saints, and someone else, but I feel like it's 3 that could be getting some wins too. So not as much in contention here. I've got out to a little bit of an early lead despite Walters having the Patriots, which is a big help. So my Seahawks are finally starting to crumble at the right time is what we like to see. And Tyler is riding it home with the middle of the road team.
Yeah, I'm 11-13, and it turns out Bo Nix is the truth. And so I have the Broncos, and the Cardinals are like, again, they're my last team that I had to pick, but they're showing out much better than expected. And Giants getting a few upsets here and there. I'm like, I don't think anybody came into the season was like, hey, by the way, Broncos are going to be 5-2 after 8 weeks.
Right. I wanted the Broncos. I was devastated when you took them, and I went with the Raiders instead, and was like, whoa.
Just a fun fact: the Broncos over/under wins season total wins was 4.5.
I was going to guess 4. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was 4.5.
They did it. The overs we cashed already.
Good job. We cashed. We're good.
Oh,
let's just say I wasn't on the over.
Bo Nix already has 5 more wins than JJ McCarthy. God, Sean Payton is so smart tricking us.
So smart.
How are the Broncos, Giants, and Cardinals doing or looking this week? I know last week they got too many wins for you.
Yeah, 2-1 this last week. Bo Nix, like I said, is just too good. Thankfully, the Giants still suck, and Cardinals with another last drive, last second field goal win. So that was awesome. So 2-1. Again, not exactly what we're going for here. Week 9, I should at worst go 1-2. Denver against Baltimore. If Denver upsets Baltimore, I don't know what life is anymore. Giants and Commanders. Again, Jaden looks to be killing it, and the Giants are still bad, so that should be okay. And then Arizona, Chicago is another coin flip. So I really should be 1-2, but I have a great opportunity at 0-3 this week.
Yep. I am 7-17 with the Panthers, the aforementioned Raiders, and the Seahawks. None of them really seem like they're trending in the upward direction, so that's a positive for me. Week 8, I went 0-3 again. I think I'm 1-8 in the last 3 weeks, so big help on the middle of the road push here. Raiders almost pulled it off, but did not happen, thank God. Week 9, I've got the Panthers-Saints matchup that we had talked about a bunch already in Pick'em, so that one's a little bit nervous to me. I'm really hoping Carr comes back and can just move the ball at will. And with them apparently turning to Bryce Young, that also helps my chances a lot more. Get Andy Dalton's ability to move the ball out of here. Then I got the Raiders versus Bengals. That should be an easy one for me. And then the Seahawks and Rams I talked about. That seems like a coin flip, being a divisional game. I don't love that. It's 2 of them are actually divisional, so those can always get a little bit interesting. I've got a chance at 0-3. I think 1-2 is more realistic, and I'll be very happy with that as long as one of those 2 divisionals goes my way. So yeah, we'll see.
I like it.
Moving into some general fantasy talk now, we got a little bit more action for some quarterback waivers, aka
just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
So we're back on the right track after a rough bye week for me the week before with literally like 0 points. We're back on a good one now. So I had Sam Darnold on Thursday night versus the Rams, 18.2 points. It felt like he had 16 of those 18 in the first half and then did nothing. So I was really pumped to start off the week, but at least, we'll take 18 plus out of a streaming quarterback anytime.
Yeah, and I went with, like I said, Bo Nix, just absolutely ridiculous. Powered in, and the rushing floor that I keep talking about. I talked about it preseason. He was one of my diamonds in the rough. You're welcome, everybody. He's looking good. So a nice solid 29.8, 29.76. So absolutely killed it. Probably the number 1 streamer of this next upcoming week, maybe number 2. But we'll get into that. So week 9, I got the first pick, and I should have went Bo Nix again, but I always like to switch it up and don't like to go the same person twice in a row. So instead, me and Jack are just going to flip, and I'm going to take Sam Darnold against Indy on Sunday Night Football. 23rd versus QBs, and again, just wanted to switch it up a little bit. So banking on the Darnold bounce back and Hawkinson back, so let's do it, Sammy.
How dare you assume I'm going to take Bo Nix? Okay, I'll take him. I didn't love that they're playing the Ravens, but that was kind of like at a first glance, and I feel like it's like the Ravens defense of old. Everybody's like, "Ooh, they're a bad matchup." They're actually 30th versus quarterbacks this year so far. So I mean, part of it's due to them scoring so many points that people are having to throw the ball, but a little bit of a pass funnel. It's the most passing yards given up in the entire league, so slightly better on the touchdown threshold, but they're letting quarterbacks throw at will. So I don't feel great about Bo Nix's scrambling upside maybe this year because the Ravens hit people hard, and they usually play a little bit better at like stifling the scramble run type of thing. But hopefully he can keep moving the ball through the air with I don't know what weapons he possibly is making work, but he's getting it done. So it seems like a good baseline. It seems like a safe, another 16 again, and I'll take that. So
yeah. Agreed.
Leaving us at QB 11 for me, still no change, and then Tyler goes up to QB 4, insanity. But the second or third week in a row now that both of us are QB 1s, and we've actually never both finished as quarterback 1s. One of us was QB 5, and the other one was just kind of right on the outskirts both years. So see if we can pull it off here.
Yeah. Hey, now I was QB 12.
Oh, were you last year? Oh, never mind.
I was.
Okay, well, neither of us have ever been top 11 quarter there. Nailed it.
Sorry, Jack. Yeah, you were 13.
I was right there too. Yeah,
you were.
Yeah, and then the end of the season gets a little crazy with injuries and people sitting and stuff. So that's where we make our money and catch up with everybody. Right. Moving to some ship it or skip it. So I have one quick that actually we had a listener send in, and then Tyler's going to do his own next. But we had Jordan send this in via Twitter. So pardon my take if you follow them. This was crazy because he sent this to me an hour before the news about Anthony Richardson getting benched broke. So it was very weird timing, but even more applicable now, he wanted to hear us debate a little bit or just discuss picking a quarterback to start your franchise with. So not necessarily fantasy, because I think that's a lot easier discussion of the two of these, presumably. But if you were an NFL, owner, like which one of these two quarterbacks would you want to start your franchise with? Anthony Richardson or the other former top 5 pick from the same draft class, who also got benched, Bryce?
Ooh, interesting. I'll let you make your argument first, but I'm gonna stick with Richardson.
Okay, I also think that with Richardson, I can discuss some points about Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I would maybe just for the playing devil's advocate for Bryce Young is that I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to argue that he has had a much worse supporting cast around him for the first year and a half that he's been with them. So Richardson, I mean, they paid Michael Pittman big money. They drafted Downs the year before, I believe, and they also brought in Adonai Mitchell. Like, they have a solid run game with Jonathan Taylor, who was great before Richardson got there. Bryce has had no help whatsoever. Like, they've tried to bring in a couple of aged veterans, receivers wise, and they've got like young guys in the works, but he hasn't had the same level of weapons, I think, that Richardson has. And I think the Colts were also kind of more middle of the pack competent than the Panthers in the last couple of years when they brought him in. I mean, they were both picking top 5 for a reason, but a little bit of coaching carousel in Carolina. I don't love the coaching situation in there as much. So I think it's less an argument for the skill set and more an argument against like what they've had to put up with so far. Bryce Young was the universal touted number 1 overall pick for a reason. He did it in college really, really well. So we've seen that. My only reservation, if I were an NFL owner, GM with Richardson, is that he's played so little games. I feel like it's the kind of Trey Lance situation where it's, he's athletic and can run really, really fast, but like, he hasn't done a lot. So yeah, he can develop really quickly as he learns, but also like maybe we just don't realize that it's there. Whereas at least Bryce had the foundation to add a much lower competition level. So I'll hang up and listen now.
No, I'm with you, and I can totally see the argument for either one of these guys. I mean, for me, my point for Anthony Richardson would be exactly that: is what have we haven't even given him an opportunity between high school and college and the NFL. He has had a total of 23 starts. That's insanity. Like, that doesn't even make sense. There's kids in college. Bo Nix has 40 more starts
26 years
in
old,
college than Anthony Richardson has his entire career. He is like, I can't remember the exact stats, but he's like he's the youngest quarterback still in the NFL, even after this new draft class. He's like 3 days older than Cam Ward, who's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks drafted in this next draft class. He's so incredibly young, and that ceiling is so high. There's so much development that needs to be done, but that can be flushed out because, again, he's barely played football, period. Like, so I think that's the crazy part. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to have a rushing touchdown in his first 3 games. Lamar didn't do that. Michael Vick didn't do that. And this one was just the most bonkers stats that I came up with. And Anthony Richardson in his first 10 starts, 50.2% completion percentage, 7.1 yards per attempt, 6.9% sack rate, 3.7 interception rate, and 37.5 rushing yards per game. Josh Allen's in his first 10 games, 52% completion, 6.5 yards per attempt, 9.6% sack rate, 3.5% higher, 3.6% interception rate, exact same, and 50.6 rush yards per game. It's very early. You don't know anything about Anthony Richardson. The Colts are just, I want to win now, and this guy and Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win now, but we have no idea what the ceiling looks like. It could be Josh Allen-esque for somebody like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. I came in planning to argue for Richardson, so I'm just kind of trying to switch it up and play advocate a little bit. Obviously, I think there's just that facet of the game that he brings that Bryce Young doesn't have with the athletic, like, game-breaking style. And we've seen his deep balls. Like, when he has the time to throw it and can't connect on it, they have looked amazing. So I think like the potential and the ceiling is certainly there. It feels very much like a Trey Lance and Zach Wilson comparison right now, and just kind of like which type you believe in more, like one that was a better pocket passer and then just couldn't figure it out at the NFL level versus the other one that has all the athletic traits and abilities but has dealt with injuries and maybe hasn't had it worked out yet. So I was much more surprised with the Colts' decision to bench Richardson, just because he played 2.5 games his rookie year, and he's only made it into like 4.5 games now this year. So like, is that really enough? Bryce Young, at least he had a whole rookie season and then the start of this season, which hadn't worked. Both of them, it still seems like it maybe was just like there's some truth to the Brady discussion of like we're doing a disservice of development to the young quarterbacks, and maybe they just need to start sitting a little bit more. Like Drake May, I mean, he even for like 3 to 4 games, he sat and then has come in and been like, okay, at least it seems like he knows the system a little bit better. He's able to move the ball, and that could totally be a product of just maybe he's better or it's working out for one versus not another because quarterback's tough to play. But I just think maybe this is starting to show like how many quarterbacks are not working out when they're highly touted, that we need to just kind of give them a season to learn first. So
yeah,
anyways.
I mean, the one thing that I'd never want to do is give the Packers kudos, but I mean, hey, does it seem to be working out that they let somebody sit for a few years and develop behind a veteran who knows what they're doing, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we can just keep this 10-year quarterback running into this 10-year quarterback into this 10-year quarterback. I don't want to take notes from them because I hate them with every fiber of my being, but they're like 3 for 3 over the last 3 decades, so I'm pretty annoyed, just going to say it.
The only thing I'll take comfort in that is giving him the highest paid quarterback contract when he just started playing. Like giving him so much money off that I was like, oh, I hope that this screws you guys over in 2 to 3 years when you're trying to keep all these other players on extensions. So that's my solace. But anyway, we'll keep things moving along. So we got one more that's going to probably devolve into some discussion too. But what's the other ship it or skip it, Tyler?
The other ship it or skip it is time for another name game.
Yeah.
Had a recent trade. So trade deadline is next week, and we started to see wide receivers on the move. We saw Amari Cooper head over to the Bills a couple weeks ago, and now we see Diontae Johnson traded from the absolutely spiraling Panthers over to the Ravens for essentially nothing. Essentially a 5th and a 6th round pick swap, which is absolute insanity to me. So we are going to play a rest of season, half PPR name game with Diontae Johnson. Jacker, are you ready?
These are going to be so gross names to decide between, but for context, we're talking fantasy only for you guys out there, and like half PPR, full PPR, whatever. So
yeah, they're relatively the same. So I just figured half PPR as soon as I was pulling rankings and whatnot too. So
works for me.
I'm gonna start and just make sure I got at least a breath of. I get a pretty good idea here. So so we'll start at the high end, because if you've got Diontae over some of these guys,
Amari Cooper.
Yeah. Which is hilarious. Amari Cooper is the first one on there.
That was not a setup. I thought he was kidding. Yes, I will take Amari Cooper after taking him over every receiver last time.
Kind of what I figured. Diontae Johnson or George Pickens?
Pickens. I'm liking him a lot with the Russell Wilson led offense so far.
Me as well. And then Diontae or Terry McLaurin?
I'm Terry. He's also looked amazing with Jaden, so I'm good with him.
Perfect. Those 3 were definitely all my like. If Jack picks Diontae over this, I'm going to be very surprised. So
there was no thought between those 3.
There was none. So I'm going to go the other side because I think I found the bottom tier of this, and I think.
Oh no! Okay.
And so we'll see. Diontae or Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, Diontae. I don't want any part of the Raiders except Bowers. So
kind of what I figured. And Diontae or Jordan Addison?
Oh, that's tough. Yeah. I think Diontae still, just because I think Hawkinson coming back is going to become the 2 over Addison.
Perfect. I'm with you. We're totally on par right now. So now we've got. Yep, I've got 4 more now here, and that'll actually get into it, baby. Split this. So this is where we get into it. So Diontae Johnson or JSN Jackson Smith and Jigba.
My boy. I was feeling much better about this when DK went out for a little bit. I'm like, here's JSN's time to shine, baby. And it really hasn't happened a ton. Mm-hmm. Like the volume is solid there. So I think he might get a little bit more volume than Diontae, but I think Deontay's upside now if he becomes the one over. I mean, we've been seeing what Rashad Bateman's been doing. So I think I will lean Diontae there just for the better offense. But it's probably just touchdown based.
Yeah, perfect. Diontae or Ladd?
Ladd. I'm Ladd on that one for sure. He's starting to ramp up even more. Like his target route run and route like percentage target or route share is going better and better each week, and the rookie is learning more of the playbook as he goes. So
awesome. Diontae or Darnell Mooney?
Mooney's had a really good start to the season, but he's obviously had some boom busts. So I mean, I think maybe like I guess I'll lean Mooney rest of season, but I think it could be a situation where like you're probably more comfortable relying on Diontae getting like a more consistent kind of floor. So I would say Mooney like outscores him rest of season.
Yeah, perfect. And then the last one I got for you is Diontae or Jalen Waddle.
Oh, yeah, with Tua back now, I have to go Waddle. I think he's probably way low ranked, but I think if he's healthy and Tua's healthy, I think he's like a wide receiver 2 potential. So
perfect. And just for context, I put these notes in 3 days ago, and look what we got here for anybody. We got name game all the way down there, the 3 individuals up top, Pickens, McLaurin, Cooper, and then I've got the 3 that I said he would take over, Waddle, Mooney, and Ladd. And I said my guess right there in the middle is Diontae at wide receiver 35. I said he would put him right over at JSN at also 35, and then he would take him over the bottom 2 of whoever the first 2 were. Jordan Addison and Jacoby Myers. So absolutely nailed it. I know Jack to a T.
Like a book.
You put Diontae at wide receiver 33 to 35, which is essentially his pre-draft ranking. So
he's flex worthy.
As fun as that was, essentially no change.
Yeah,
you're
pretty much.
You're getting a lower amount of more efficient volume.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be just less targets in that offense and just maybe some more touchdowns here and there. I will say, I think
that was fantastic.
I do think Mooney was the closest one on the upside one for me. I think McConkey was an easy pick for me, but Mooney is maybe more like questionable just because of that boom bust. So Mooney and JSN on those 2 would have been where I guessed like he's going to be right in between, because that seems like I love JSN, and so it was hard for me to not to pick him, but I was trying to keep it, not biased. So that was fun. I like seeing where they land.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I looked at 4 different websites for those, so those were all the numbers that you saw, the 29, 28, 29, were rest of season rankings for all these individuals. Darnell Mooney rest of season was wide receiver 32, 29, 34, 33, and Ladd was 33, 36, 39, and 36. I thought that was pretty low for Ladd.
That seems low for me. I know I'm coming off of like him just having a blow-up game, but I feel like as a rookie, he's getting better and better and better, so I guess I'm higher on him. For what that's worth.
Yeah, I would agree. But I just thought that was too good. I'm like, I got exactly with that. I'm gonna nail this.
Yeah, you're picking some of my guys too, so that hits me right in the feels. But it's fun too, because I don't know, I don't like prep any of these or like know who he's gonna say, so I don't look at like what the rankings are ahead of time. So it's fun to see like where do I view them if I was actually making a list of 30 plus people in a row kind of thing, and then having it be basically consensus. Like you said, it really didn't change. It's just for different reasons on the Ravens. So it sounds exciting. Like maybe it helps Lamar more, but I don't really think it changes him. So
agreed.
All right. Moving on. We got a couple for some suit up or sit down.
Yep. Suit up. Where's your suit?
That's why. Now sit down and shut up.
Diamond suited up.
In your seat now.
Where's my super suit?
The aggressive teacher always gets me because it's just like
so good.
A vibe change.
Mighty Ducks.
We had a couple last week, so we had we told Chubb to sit him down, and then he basically was still limited, not fully back to speed, 5.2 points. So nailed that one. We also said to sit Olave like he has been sat every week of the season, and he went out and put 14.7 up. So I mean, it was only volume based, but it was definitely startable. So we were out on that one. We own our mistakes here on this podcast, so we'll always talk about those. Yeah. So what do we got this week, Tyler? Looks like 3 of them.
Yeah. Just putting 3 of them for quickness purposes, because the other one that we had from last week was Rico Dowdle, and then obviously he sat with the Innis. So that was the third one. So that's a tough one. So this week I've got 1 running back and then 2 receivers, all kind of interesting ones. So very flex edge individuals. So this week we're gonna go first one. Suit him up or sit him down. Austin Eckler versus the Bears. Number 17 versus running backs. Could be playing with a lead. Could get totally game scripted out. That's what seems to have happened the last few weeks is they're putting up a lot of points and just running it with Brian Robinson. So Austin Eckler versus Chicago this week.
Yeah, I know it says 17th versus running backs, but I think of Chicago as having such a strong front 7 that I feel like maybe this is more inflated on scoring or whatever too, but they're not a team that I want to run the ball against, especially if it's my aging second running back on my team who is kind of receiving based and he's not getting the receiving work. So assuming we're like thinking of any of our suit up, sit down people as like flex consideration for those of you following along out there, I would probably go sit down for Eckler because I just don't think, like, barring a touchdown or surprisingly getting like 5+ receptions, that he's really not going to be usable. Like you said, I think the Commanders are doing so well moving the ball offensively that they could be up early and really not need to continue using a receiving back, and just Brian Robinson's been very like Montgomery Jr., like Montgomery light efficiency wise. So I'm probably out on him.
Now sit down and shut up.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a pretty straightforward one for me. Pretty simple. I think this is another game. Chicago's not one you want to pass on. They have one of the best cornerback duos, so they are more of a run funnel, but it's not a super positive run funnel. You just also can't throw on them, so it's just a very good defense in general. Perfect. So next one for you. Do we believe in the breakout? Cedric Tillman versus the Chargers. They are number 3 versus wide receivers. So a lot of that comes from game script in general for them. They keep the ball on the ground a lot and control that clock. So number 3 versus receivers. Do you believe? The last 2 weeks, 14.1 and 25.4 for Cedric Tillman. What do you think versus the Chargers this week?
I'll give you a little preview because I knew those numbers because we're talking about them in a later segment. Also, I think the third versus wide receiver surprises me seeing that because it makes you think, oh my gosh, they're really good against receivers. But also, I just think they're a low scoring team, the Chargers, where they just run the ball. So it's like the games are over very quickly. It's a close game script. Like teams run the ball on them also. So I don't know that it scares me. And also, either way, I think Jameis Winston being the quarterback is going to look at game scripts and look at like matchup opponents and be like, I don't give a crap about that. I'm throwing it 40 times a game anyways. So the surprising target volume makes me really, really excited because he seemed like a guy who's going to get like 2 catches and you hope it's one of them's a 50-yard touchdown bomb. So the fact that he's actually getting volume makes me super in. But yeah, I feel like he's like a flex guy with wide receiver 2 upside just for that scoring. So I am very, very in on the suit up for Cedric Tillman, I believe.
Suit up!
Yeah, I would agree with you. I figured he was going to be your diamond suit. So we'll see here after this last one. This last one, Mr. Country Boy from the Carolina Panthers, Xavier Legette versus the Saints, number 22 versus wide receivers, which normally you don't think, but Marshawn Lattimore and some other individuals have been hurt this year, so they've certainly been one of the pass funnels. He could potentially be the new number 1 in Carolina with Diontae gone now. He's been kind of an every other week pop. 16.6, 1.3, 9.8, 1.9. 11.4. So he's gotten a touchdown in those pop weeks. So that, again, understandably where that comes from. But now some of that volume should be there as well. Granted, pivot back to Bryce Young. So is Xavier Legette versus the Saints this week?
Oh, God, this is tough because I want to say yes, but then you bring up the Bryce Young point, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to start anybody there. We assume that they're bad enough that they're probably going to be playing from behind. Hopefully, if Carr's back, if everybody's healthy. I mean, but it also could be a gross like 10-7 type of game. I think like this is kind of a desperation play type of thing. Like maybe if you're already projected well behind whoever you're playing and you need like an all or nothing type of play, I don't hate this. But if you're like a guillotine trying to stay alive or it's like a matchup neck and neck type of thing, I'd probably go away from it. I don't hate it though. I don't hate it for the flyer, like what you're doing for a flex streamer, whether it's buys or injuries, just because like you said, he could be the number 1. And for that chance of like, I need to make something happen here. He does have potential. He's a big body guy that can get the big contested catches, but he's also pretty decently fast too. So it's more a bet on Bryce Young that scares me, but I think I'm okay with reluctantly suiting him up this week as a flex.
Suit up!
I'm with you. I think the volume is definitely going to be there, and again, I think they're playing from behind as well. So give me some Xavier Legette just so I can hear another post-game interview.
I need that clip from Billy Madison where the guy at the end is like, everybody here is now dumber for having heard you speak. Every time I hear him in an interview, I'm like, I got nothing. I don't know what you're saying, man.
It's so good. I love every single bit of it because just hearing him talk, oh man, nah, I talk regular. I'm like, I love every ounce of you, Xavier.
Yeah, sure you do, bud. Yeah.
And that's what I got this week for some suit up or sit down.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman, real quick, diamond suit of the week. I'm all in on him, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But all tough ones, all good choices this week. So
stamp of approval. I love it. Go get him, Cedric.
All right, moving into some league-specific stuff real quick here. We're going to do a little recap of some How You Doing.
Hey, how you doing?
So myself, quickly, I finally get to have this segment where I don't complain about the poor luck. I had a 2-0 week, a strong 2-0 week, 128-point score in the main league versus Jordan. Jordan, I'm so sorry. He said before the week started he was going to lose. So, I mean, Jordan says that every week.
It's very Jordan.
Yeah, was right. Yeah. Thank you, CD, for randomly blowing up on Sunday Night Football to get me to stay alive and in contention here. Also had a good week where the best ball I won. I extended the taco streak to start the season to an 8-0, and we won our co-league in the FFPC group, moving to 6-2. So a strong second place there. So it was a good week for me overall.
Yeah, mine wasn't too bad. I won the leagues that I really wanted to win. That I cared about. One head-to-head in our main league. Finished a couple points out of the top 6. So I was 7th by like 3 points. So that's a tough one.
Stupid Jay.
What can you do? But yeah, still in first. And turns out Chris Boswell just only kicks field goals. So that was a tough one. But hope to keep it rolling. I'm still in first. So I'm good with that. I'm loving what these teams are doing in FFPC, so it's really cool. It's one of the bigger money ones, obviously, so I love seeing that. Dynasty and Best Ball, not even paying attention, really. I'm brutal in all of.
I mean, you're 5-3, so
I lost this week, I know for sure. In Dynasty, one of them I'm tanking, and the other ones I'm like 6th, 7th, so I'm just kind of fighting for a playoff spot. So I'm paying attention a little bit, but the main league of record I'm doing well in, and then the FFPC is the main ones that I'm looking at too. So I'm enjoying it. I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. If you need a little help extra to push you over the edge on the one you're trying to fight for 6 or 7, let me know, because I don't have a lot of players left, but most of them are yours.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
All right, moving into the Gilly, our guillotine section each week, where we're just talking kind of broad scope. Anybody who's still alive in their guillotine leagues, which as of this moment, both of us are. So we'll keep that going here. But real quick, the top 10 most cut players in the past week. I'll rattle them off. And then Tyler, if you have any thoughts on kind of them or just in general spending for this week. So top 10 cut, Derrick Henry, no surprise after finally kind of a relative down game. Amari Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brock Bowers, Saquon, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker III, Drake London, Jordan Love with the injury, and Jordan Mason with the injury.
Awesome. And just because I have it, sorry for your ears, potentially. Haven't tested it out yet. Here you go, Jack. Just for you.
Oh,
I'm going to try that again. Just because it didn't load very well, but it was pretty loud.
Oh, it sounded good to me. That's what I was hoping for. That's amazing.
I know.
We got a sound for it now.
I like it. So those are your top 10 cut. So moving into some strategies, just some general idea for you. As you can see, names are getting more and more prominent in your league. So this is why we've talked about the entire time of being able to save that money if you can. Just kind of surviving to this point. Player pool is starting to get flush with good players. And if you're finding those individuals and those guys that are going to be absolute staples, and when we say that, we mean, hey, this is going to be somebody on your team when there's 3 or 4 people left. Those are the kind of individuals that you're spending $200-$300 for. The rest of them these are just individuals that are getting you by. Anybody who's a tertiary player that could eventually be cut, that's not a guaranteed staple. You really shouldn't be spending more than $30, $40, $50 on them, because you only have 1,000 at the end of the day, and $30, $40, $50 a week adds up very quickly. So get by with what you got if you can, but if you see that big player hit the market, also don't be afraid to go get them. Start looking at those future bye weeks. Again, we said that last week with week 8 into week 9. Now we've only got 2 buys. I think there's 5 buys next week or something like that. Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. So it's going to be tough. A lot of Bowers, a lot of Jordan Love owners out there. Pay attention now. And again, for this, I did it for this week. Steelers on a bye, picked up George Pickens for $1.
That was sneaky.
It's just $2. So it's just little things like that if you are able to look ahead, you can get some of those guys who can get you through to a further week and help you save some of that big money for now when there's only 6 and 5 people left to have some money and spend on those really big guys.
Yeah, the team that got eliminated this past week in our league, I think it was Andrew Falk's team, if I'm not mistaken, did not get the memo on all of the prominent players being available, because there were like 3, and
was not great.
needed players, but wasn't going to go crazy on them. And 2, I basically was the next bidder up, and it just didn't work out. So yeah, I would love to have them, but like at the expense of breaking my entire bank, no. So I'm kind of just in that situation, like probably a lot of you are, that you're never really comfortable in Guillotine, but kind of just at hoping I survive and holding my breath, because I'm not going to drop most of my budget left just to end up losing in 2 weeks. I'd rather either lose now or win the whole thing. So you're just kind of hoping and praying that you can at least be top 10 out of 11 people left or whatever it is. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Again, that's the point of the league. You're not trying to win every week. You're not. You're trying to take second to last every single week. So then you can hoard that money and then eventually get to it of like, CD got cut. Let's go get him. Saquon got cut. Okay, let's go get him. And so that's kind of what we had. And pivoting into some of the bigger money that we've seen spent in our league, just to give you an idea of something realistic for you in week 8. And we're doing this podcast a day later than we normally do. So we actually had our waiver run. So I'll give you some week 9 for individuals that are coming up. But week 8, Saquon went for $415, again on $1,000 budget.
Jesus.
That's bonkers. That's
too
a
much,
lot.
Too much.
Yeah. But I figured you'd go for around low to mid 300s. Kamara 204, Aaron Jones 126, James Cook 97. That was pretty good. Obviously a steal. Debo 75, interesting one. And then JSN for only 47. Depends on how long DK's out, but that could be okay for you as well. And then into week 9, some of the bigger names cut that were picked up today. Neighbors for 300. I thought that was right about what it was going to go for. And then Puka for 199 were the 2 biggest ones. So I think they were right on par with average bid wins over the last 6 weeks. So that makes sense. And then Brian Robinson went for 75. Again, felt about right. Like and then the only interesting one was Baker Mayfield getting picked up as a quarterback for $51. The next closest bid was 11. So and then 1.
I'm surprised there were 2. Yeah.
So not so sure about that one, but Neighbors, Puka, and B-Rob all felt perfectly fine with those numbers.
Yeah, B-Rob, I was $8 short, so that sucks because I feel like he's an underrated, like not sexy name, but solid, putting you in there. Neighbors, I was the next bidder at like 242 or 248 or something like that. I just felt like 300 was a lot to go for me. I get it, he's amazing. That was kind of that, like, that's the thing where it's just like, okay, do you really want to just get this player, or do you want to feel better later on? And like, I could be wrong. I could get eliminated this week and Neighbors would be the difference, but like, you just kind of got to set what your baseline is and what you want to spend and stick close to that, because there's going to be like Neighbors could be there next week, or I bet you there's going to be at least one top 10 receiver available next week. So like, it's not like a normal waiver wire type of situation. So it's very, very tough.
Yep.
I think this is going to be the week for me, or week 12, because I got a lot of buy issues. I just feel like if I can survive those 2, I'm feeling real good. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's the show for the night.
Nope.
So we'll just
move
on.
Nope. Let's move on. Jackaroo.
All right. Well, tell us what the segment is. I'm gonna bring everybody to my sponsor for the night. Lovely little Kraken, bringing it back to you. I stepped it up for you. I got 94 proof instead of 80. And
there you go.
My favorite thing to show, because I have my shot collection going on. Check out this motherfucking shot glass. Look at that.
That's
little
actually pretty sick.
Cell phone. I don't know if it's going to be the most efficient to drink from, so we're going to bear with me here if I spill. But you go ahead and take us off.
Yeah, Jack is getting that all set up because we made it to our DFS Faceoff, a little DraftKings. We do a DFS Faceoff every week. Free to join for anybody that wants to get in. Feel free to text me for the link. Otherwise, you can find it a lot in the descriptions and on our YouTube page as well. But we do, if nothing else, just for bragging rights. We did it for money last year, but Jack was feeling good. He was on a roll. He had won 2 in a row, and he was like, we need to keep doing this all the time. And I made sure to stop that train and say, not so fast. So Jack is going to enjoy his shot, which is what happens to the loser each week. So I took down Jack. Head-to-head series through 8 weeks is I've got 5 wins to Jack's 3 wins. I went 147.8 to 143. Came down to legitimately the last drive of the mid-game. He had the Denver DST. He needed 1 sack to pass me because they were at like 146. Nice. You did great, Jack.
That felt like much more than a normal shot glass. That was a lot.
That was pretty good. It looked bigger. But Jack's Denver defense needed 1 more sack on the final drive to pass me. It was at 146 to my 147. But instead, they gave up a garbage time touchdown and took away a few of his points. So he got 143. So super nice. Usually we have a few more duplicates, but this week we only had 2 overlaps. Jordan Love got hurt. So putting up 147 and 143 apiece with a quarterback that scored 6 was pretty good. And then we both had K. Dotton as well. So he killed it 29.1. Key matchups this week, I doubled up on tight ends. I went with K. Dotton and Trey McBride. They both seemed undervalued, and obviously they both absolutely killed it. For Jack, we both had a Jordan Love stack. He picked Jaden Reed, and I picked Romeo Doubs. And so Jaden was terrible, and Romeo Doubs was average. So that really seemed to be it. And then King Henry, I mean, he still had a 73 and a touchdown, but no receiving. But for the money you spent, certainly a flop on that side, so that makes it a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it sucks because I really tinkered with my lineup this week to get some like cheaper options that I actually loved, and I nailed the cheaper options, but I did it also. I could fit Derrick Henry and Jordan Love into the matchup, and that's what tanked it. Like any other quarterback, and I would have had enough to win. So I think I had Geno at one point, and I might have had.
I did too.
I don't remember who else I had, but I had two different quarterbacks that both got 10 or above, and that really hurt me. So at the end of the day, I think Tyler deserved to win because he started 2 tight ends in DFS on tight end day. So
that's right.
That's deserving. So
that was the reasoning.
The couple of actually, I had a lot of good hits last week. Not all of them that I could fit in my own lineup, unfortunately, but guys that I mentioned kind of for like the not elite options or under budget. Jameis had 27.5, Bo Nix had 29.8, both fire options for their money. Running backs wise, not some fire, but some pretty solid ones. Achane 26.7. Then I said pick either one, Rashad White or Bucky Irving, 15.7 and 15.4. So wouldn't have really been bad either way. Receivers, Brian Thomas Jr., only 15, which not great for him, but I mean, still solid. And then Cedric Tillman, I had in every lineup anywhere, 28.9 for his like $3,100 salary.
Mm-hmm.
Trey McBride, we talked about. Tyler had him in there, 24.4. David Njoku, 17.1. K. and we both had 29.1. So a lot of hits, which feels really, really good. I don't know how many of you are taking my DFS advice out there, but it's nice to know if somebody is, it's working out kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So looking into week 9, there's not a ton of options that I absolutely loved early on, so I'm going to kind of tinker with it. But quarterbacks wise, the one that kind of stood out to me was Stafford at only 5,700 versus Seattle, who's not a great defense by any means. And we all saw what Stafford looked like now with his weapons being back. It's a key divisional game. The Rams are still pushing. They're basically like out of it. And now they're trying to say, no, we're still a playoff team. So 2-4 before they played us. Now they have a chance to go to 4-4 against a division rival in a winnable division with the San Francisco struggling also. So don't hate him for a cheaper option. Running backs wise, there weren't a ton of guys under 6,000 that I love, so I kind of went more of the middle of the pack. But James Conner at 6,600 this week versus the Bears, I kind of really like this one. He's averaging 16.1 carries. He's hit 14 or more points in 4 out of the 5 last weeks. Multiple catches in 4 straight games. He's not thought of as a receiving guy, but I feel like that's always a really underrated part of the game with him. And surprisingly, the Bears, opposing running backs have hit 100 yards or more on the ground in 4 out of 5 games versus them recently. So that's surprising. He hasn't done that a ton where he gets enough volume to be at 100 plus, but it's good to know teams can move the ball on him. And then Devon Achane, 6,700 versus the Bills. Historically, the Bills, for whatever reason, have very much keyed in on Tyreek and just try to keep him in front of them versus going downfield. So I think Devon Achane just with Tua back is going to continue to get the work, get a lot of receiving dump off, and we all talked about how well he's doing in the receiving world already. Receivers wise, Chris Olave, 6,100. He's just because he's playing the Panthers, and he gets Derek Carr back, and Rashid Shaheed's gone, and they have nobody else. Or the Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua stack with Stafford, 77 and 7,200 respectively. I still do lean Kupp even with the higher price tag. I mean, it's only a $500 difference, so it's kind of just what you can fit in at that point. Cedric Tillman, blow-up game, has had 2 great games we talked about earlier. He's still only 4,300. So I'm double or tripling down at this point, 18.1 and 28.9 points the last 2 weeks, 21 total targets in the game. Jameis doesn't care. He's just going to throw the ball. And then Ladd McConkey, another one of mine. I know he's questionable currently, but he should be playing. He had an explosive week last week, finally, and he's still only at 5,600, so that seems pretty solid for a low passing but number 1 passing option person there. Lastly, tight end, we got Kyle Pitts, hurts to right, but 4,900 just feels really cheap. It's versus Dallas. They have the implied point total in this game at 52, which is the highest on the week, so expecting a lot of points scored. Hopefully some of it goes to Kyle Pitts. He has double-digit points the last 4 weeks, including the blow-up last week, so kind of surprising under the radar consistency. And then if you want a really gross option, Will Dissly for $3,100. The last 2 weeks with Hayden Hurst out, he has 13 catches on 18 targets for 122 yards, and he has led or tied for the lead in targets for the Chargers both weeks. Quentin Johnston's already questionable. Hayden Hurst is still questionable this week. And now we got Ladd McConkey, who should play, but no reason to think Dissly can't be the number 2 again. And I think Herbert's starting to kind of look his way a little bit more, because at least he's got some explosiveness versus Hayden Hurst. So those are my picks for the week.
You did it, Jack. You killed it. Only 3.
Oh boy.
Only 4 breaths later and 1 shot, but you did great.
Well, that phone shot really got to me. So, all right.
I like it.
Moving into Dynasty download. Tyler, looks like you've got the keep trade cut ones for this week, so I'll let you toss them out, and I'll keep it concise.
Yeah, we're good. We just hit the hour mark, so we'll go fast here, so we can. But this should be really the last one before we get to our draft. So appreciate everyone who's stuck around this far. But really, it's kind of surrounding the same individuals. But I'll do my first one, and then we'll do kind of a caveat after that too. So keep trade cut: Jonathan Brooks, George Pickens, and JSN.
Oh, not another JSN question. In this question, do I have a signed mini helmet from JSN? Because that factors in.
It is your keep trade cut, so I'm going to say yes.
I will cut both of the other 2 to stay away from JSN. No, I think in a dynasty wise, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum in this section every week, where receivers have more value than running backs, like lengthwise in dynasty. So I think it's just a matter of whichever one of them you can probably get the most for. I think I am probably trading JSN still on the hype of that. I think I would trade him over trading Pickens personally, just because I think people still believe. But I think especially if you're a contending team right now, it's still going to take a while, because DK is still there. And Kenneth Walker has just been great, so they have no problem leaning on him. So I think you can maybe get more for JSN than Jonathan Brooks, just because it's dynasty and because we haven't seen anything from Brooks yet. I think I'm going to keep Pickens, just because I think it's showing when he has a sort of competent quarterback. I don't expect Russell Wilson to be the answer long-term for his career, but he can get it done as a number 1 option for the team. So I think he's probably a little bit undervalued dynasty-wise, and I would keep him for that. And not that I want to cut Jonathan Brooks or anything, but I think, like, coming off of a major injury, plus the fact that they don't know what they're doing at the quarterback position, the coaching regime could be out of there in another season or 2. And Chuba Hubbard's doing really, really well. Like, they keep banging the drum saying they don't want to necessarily move him. They're not actively shopping him at the trade deadline. So, there's no guarantee, like people expected when Brooks was drafted, he was going to come in and just be the guy and take all the workload. I don't know that that's happening anymore. And even if it does, is this offense really a team you want to bet on your running back for dynasty for us? I don't know. So that's kind of my gut instincts.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I'm pretty on par with you. I think George Pickens is going to start turning it around to show individuals why he was such a stud. He was an absolute monster at Georgia, and he was like my stamp. He was like, this is the guy I'm getting. And then he went to the Steelers, and I was like,
this is not the guy.
I was so mad, but guess what? I still have him anywhere that I can. I have him in redraft. I have him in dynasty. So I promise, George, I still love you. I'm still a Georgia boy, so don't worry about that. So I'm with you. I'm still keeping Pickens. I might trade Jonathan Brooks and cut JSN, just because, again, I think it's gonna take a while, and with DK there, Tyler Lockett still seems to be going strong as well. And again, in that there's just no volume. I shouldn't say no volume. There's less volume, but they seem to be throwing it more. So I think it's a true coin flip between Brooks and JSN. So
yeah.
So I think that's totally fine. And so on that, I honestly thought that's where you might go, which is why I put in this next caveat with Mr. Jonathan Brooks, because I thought he might be the one that you would cut. If someone offered you a mid-2025 first here, so we'll say likely a top, if you're going running back wise, likely a top 2 or 3 running back in this upcoming 2025 class, which it's known for. There's a couple good receivers. There's a mess of good running backs. You never really know coming out of this. So would you rather have Jonathan Brooks, or we'll say like a 2025 mid-first 6, 7, 8-ish, where you're pretty much guaranteed a top 2 to 3 running back in this class. And just for those that don't do as much dynasty, that'd be like a Rashawn Judkins from Ohio State. That'd be a Nicholas Singleton from Penn State. That'd be an Amarian Hampton from UNC, or like Travion Henderson from Ohio State as well.
remember talking about him last year in Dynasty before he came back for another season. Travion, meaning.
Yeah, so he would have been potentially the number one over Jonathan Brooks, which is why I kind of posed this number one drafted out of there until he went back. So essentially, Jonathan Brooks. I guess you could pivot and go receiver there. There's plenty of those in as well, but that's kind of where I'm going with this. Do you want somebody who's already been drafted for the future to be the number one on a brutal team like Carolina, or are you going to essentially re-roll the dice and go into this upcoming class?
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned a couple of the key points with that, but I think the fact that he's coming off of a serious injury and we haven't seen any action yet. Like he was expected to be out 4 weeks, and most of us drafted him expected we were going to have a running back 2 by week 5. That hasn't happened through 8 weeks yet, and he's still likely not going to play this week. Plus the fact that we didn't expect Chuba to be doing as well as he had, all the reasons I just mentioned before. Like, there's not a guarantee like we thought there was going to be with him going forward, and I don't see that changing in the next one. Like, the Panthers aren't just going to turn it around in 2 years, so I think they're going to continue to probably be rough. So the chance that either I could land a running back like one of those 4 that maybe ends up in a much better situation right from the get-go and have those extra couple years, have the not debilitating knee injury coming off of that, or like there's no saying that you have to be locked into taking running back here. Like if the chips fall differently and I get a different receiver, and maybe I don't need receiver as badly, but take the value in Dynasty, like things change so quickly that I always say don't just draft based on position when it comes to Dynasty. Like it just take your 6th receiver before you take your 3rd running back if you think that that's the better value. So I like it for that reason. And then especially I was going to harp on the point that you mentioned that like this was known this past year as a not very strong running back class, whereas next year's is supposed to be much stronger. I think people are going to look at Brooks and be like, well, he's the running back 1. Like, why would I want to take a chance at maybe getting the running back 3 in a different class? Like, he wouldn't have been the running back 1 in a different class. So
correct.
I think for that reason, I'm probably going to take the 1st. I'd feel a lot better if I could at least be like, okay, at least is it a non-playoff team? Like, am I getting like 5th or 6th? But yeah, I mean, especially if you're contending, does Brooks really do anything for you? And if you're rebuilding, I think long term you're going to have a better chance at like different options that'll maybe work out better for you. So
yeah, I thought that was going to be an interesting one, and I honestly don't know how I feel either. I went back and forth when I put it in here, and I will say if I had to make the decision like right this second, and I didn't have landing spots for any of these guys, and I didn't have draft capital, I think that plays a big decision because I mean Jonathan Brooks, second round running back. All these other guys could be 2nd round, could be 3rd round. None of these guys have 1st round draft grades. None of them. Like it just doesn't happen for running backs. Ashton Diontae from Boise State is the only one that has a 1st round grade, and even still, he still might not go just because of the lack of want and need for 1st round running back in the NFL too. So pretty much all these guys are going to be in the exact same spot. It's just a matter of landing spot. So I think for me, with what I consider a stronger running back class going into 2025, I would take the re-roll as well.
Can't be many worse landing spots than the Panthers. So, I mean, chances are it's a better one. But yeah, I like that. That's a good one to start thinking about names that people probably haven't heard if you're like a casual redraft or rookie Dynasty player. So, all right. Well, really quick to save time. We're not doing ad drop it like it's hot because everybody's waivers have already run, especially by when this comes out on Thursday morning. Notable injuries wise, we've talked about most of them already. So there's not really any major ones to discuss. Wearing my 49ers gear because this might be the last episode where we don't have CMC to talk about projecting. That's about the only news, that he's probably coming back week 10 finally. So we won't get into a ton of the non-fantasy relevant guys other than Stephon Diggs add to the list, another receiver of Jack's team out for the year. So
yeah. Probably weren't starting Christian Kirk either, but he fractured his collarbone, so he's out for the season. DK Metcalf, just keep an eye on him. They said he's optimistic to play this week, which I thought was surprising after an MCL sprain, only missing 1 week. So he was the other one. But other than that, everybody else is either completely out that you already know of, or has slowly come back. And like we said, yay Vikings, TJ Hawkinson is back, my boys.
Love it.
That's what we got.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to get into our draft then to round things out here, just to I know since we're already a little bit over time, so we won't go super crazy. I'm not going to lie, my list is very, very long, so I could go as many rounds as we wanted, but we'll keep it short for now. So recap from 2 weeks ago, we had the noises you'd want to replace your car horn with. So just recapping that. Tyler won pretty easily in Facebook. I squeaked out a win in the Reddit score. I was surprised on that one, but
really
not a lot of unique takes by fans. There was one that was like, I feel like if you picked the police siren, which Tyler took, would get you more in trouble than it would get you like usable because you'd get pulled over by it. But for whatever reason, so many people loved the Auga one. They were like, I might switch my car to this
so
now.
good.
So that one was funny. And then Lost Knight 84 commented in saying, you had me at the Yoshi tongue noise. I'm like, that's a sentence that's never been said in the English language before. So
good.
Yeah, so there's that. So Tyler got his first one on the board for the Friends victory, just Facebook and group me and whatever. And then I broke the tie right now with the Reddit crown, the unofficial one, since it's all just people we don't know, but it's a lot more votes. So we'll post this one next. Hopefully I'll try to remember to do it on Thursday this time, and we can get some more people weighing in and your comments and stuff. But this week's category, we have best pump up / walk up songs, like just something that gets the blood going, gets you ramped up and ready to run through a wall kind of thing. Doesn't have to be a walk up, just whatever I guess kind of sounds to you. So any clarification or any info I'm missing, Tyler?
No, I think it should be totally fine. I'll be curious. I think we went totally different directions in this too, because I certainly didn't.
Probably.
I went so many more like walk up songs and things like
either
that.
Or.
So
it's just kind of whatever you want.
But it makes sense. They're either quick little snippets or something, some type of pump up song. Yeah. If I'm about to hit a set in a weight room or something like that, or somebody's walking out to the field or walking up to the batter's box, walking out to the mound. College traditions and things like that was where my brain went. Is those short little snippets that are like, all right, let's go. So that's exactly where I went.
All right. Well, Tyler has the first pick this one. So just
I do.
Clarify, do you want to go 4 or 6? I'm fine either way if I can keep it short, but
yeah,
you tell me how many you have.
I didn't prepare very much for it, so I think I only have like 6 on my list. So we're going to go with 4.
We'll go 4.
And I might scramble when I run out here.
Lovely. All right. Well, yeah, you get the first pick this time. So talk the folks through. What are you feeling with the obvious number 1 pick that everyone's going to judge you for not taking? So
yeah, the obvious number 1 pick is I have no idea. But the one that I'm going to go with was just the first one that obviously came to my mind, and what I assume a lot of everybody else's mind is "Little Lose Yourself" by Eminem.
Oh, okay. I was thinking I was about to write it down, and I did not. So,
okay,
Lose Yourself,
good.
The classic. That is the classic one. Yeah, and I didn't go off of like snippets or like at this time frame to this time frame. I'm just you guys all know it with the big moments.
You know what we're talking about.
Ironically, because I thought I was going to go more bangers like in the weight room, and Tyler was going to go more walk-ups, I was so sure you were going to go one of the classic walkout songs. So I'll take it instead at number 1 because I guess it's one of the more iconic ones. But I'm going a little Metallica, Enter Sandman for Mariano coming out. So that's my go-to. It strikes fear into the hearts. Plus, even besides Mariano, it's just a good song. And I mean, Metallica is one of the kings as far as getting your blood flowing. So that is one of mine. I'm pivoting a little bit on the second one because I didn't expect that to be where we're going, and I don't want to go too much just rock only. But I am going to. I guess I'm gonna go with the song that I will tell you. There's too many options. I'm looking at them all, and I'm just like blurring out the lines.
I love it. I have like 3 on my list, and Jack's like, I gotta get to tab 4.
I color coded these just for this occasion. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go just with another classic one, and I'm just gonna go with Thunderstruck.
Fair enough. Nothing wrong with
going
that.
Old school rocks, but it's an iconic party song, and it's you can't not be pumped up when you hear it. So got those 2 off the bat.
Yeah, that's that works great. So I'm gonna go with 2 of the most iconic ones over the past, one forever and 2 more recent years. But the first one I'm going to take is absolutely everybody knows it, one of the best college traditions out there. Start of the 4th quarter, give me some Wisconsin Jump Around.
I was good. Yeah, out of spite, I'm not taking the Badgers. How dare you?
You live in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Not by choice. I just.
Yeah. Christine, you heard that? You heard that, right? Okay,
I gotta go dark, huh?
Yep, just wanted to make sure. And then the other one too we might as well keep it in the Big Ten, and we're gonna go with Michigan to start the third quarter. Give me some Mr. Brightside.
Yeah. Oh, baby. God. If we were just picking like favorite songs, Jordan and I have talked about this a bunch too because of college football Dynasty and everything. But yeah, that's probably the main reason I picked Michigan. So I love those choices. I am now going to go with mine. That was my number 2, but I decided to wait on it based on what you had already taken. So I am going to go with, for me personally, and this is not a shot against your pick earlier, but for me personally, my favorite get my blood flowing, get the pumped upness going of Eminem songs is going to be back in the OG Call of Duty days. I'm going Till I Collapse because that makes me want to run through a wall anytime I hear it.
So good.
The Call of Duty trailer coming on and just the little the slow intro and the quiet talking, and then he just gets angry. So Till I Collapse was my close second to Enter Sandman. And then everything is either angsty songs or it's old rock. So I'm just going to go with you'll appreciate this one. You'll appreciate either one of these that I'm trying to decide between, but I am going to go with probably not a big vote getter because if you don't listen to this genre of music and everything, but one that Tyler knows because we saw it live and it's one of the best probably opening songs for a band or person to start with. But I'm going to go with a little Ba with da Ba.
Oh yeah, there you go. Kid Rock. Oh my God, it's so good. I think I've seen that song live 3 times now, and it is absolutely absurd.
Not even, you don't have to be a Kid Rock fan. You don't even have to like, because this is so different from most of his music, but it's just like, what is happening? Why is it dark? Why is everybody quiet? And then just the scream. So
it's so good. And I'm going to leave one on the table that I should have taken, but just because nobody has one anywhere near any of the genre, give me the down south. Give me some West Virginia. Country roads, take me home. We're not to the place.
Not talking drunk, put me to sleep, bonding songs.
Oh no! Hey, when that hits, you get in a big group of people. You can't tell me that that's not so much fun. So that'll get you pumped up.
All right, I like it. What 1 to 2 songs did you have left on your list? Because we didn't really have much crossover.
No, not a lot. The other one that everyone's going to tell us about too is everyone's going to say Narco. Everyone's going to say
that was the one I almost took.
Edwin Diaz is going to say the Timmy Trumpet. So that's what I should have taken, but I wanted to throw some country genre in there for the Southern in me.
You had to match my Kid Rock pick totally.
Yeah.
I Jordan can attest to this too, but I freaked out every time trumpets came on, and
so good.
MLB The Show too. So I was just like, oh man, this is mine, but it's not going to be known by anyone who doesn't follow baseball. So
true.
I had a little bit of 3 Days Grace and some Linkin Park on there. The Numb Encore remix is one of my gym playlist staples.
So good.
And then Animal I've Become, Riot, all that stuff. I had the old school, like the We Will Rock You and stuff, but that doesn't really get me going. It just seems like it's a cliche pick.
It's a good song.
7 Nation Army, Remember the Name. I almost took at one point. There's a lot of them. So somebody let us know if you have any of your own picks, but we'll get these ones out kind of a little bit across the board. So next week I got 4 options in there. You tell me which one we're doing, and we'll just toss the others in the draft pile.
Ooh, give me those best treasure hunters. Seems like fun.
I knew you would. Yeah. So
I don't know what it means, so I got to figure it out.
I was going to say, it doesn't have to be people that specifically did it, but just if you're taking a player or a person or a pick, who you think would be like the best ones to help you track down that object or lost item. So we'll do some best treasure hunters next week, kind of like what we did that like escape room team.
Escape room. So I'm putting together a treasure hunting team.
Yeah, we can do like a team of 5 with ours included, or you can just do like individual people, like whatever you want to do, but just someone that's going to help you find the golden chest, whatever you're looking for. So I didn't want to say something from a movie and then be like, that's the pick. So the Ark of the Schmovenant is definitely not what I was thinking. So
Schmanda Schmones. And the Schmaders of the Schmark.
Who can it be for the first pick next week? All right. Well, this has gone off the rails, so I'll just wrap it up quick with let us know your picks next week. Let us know what we missed from pop-up songs, what's on your gym playlist, or what was your walk-up song if you played baseball or whatever in high school and stuff. And please comment on our episode once it's out. Let us know what you think. If you have any start, sit, or ship it or skip it questions you want to hear us discuss, thank you, Jordan, for the few this week that you tossed out. That's all I got.
Yep, I'm with you. Appreciate the listen as always, Pod Squad. Till next week. Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Check out more content on youtube.com/@thebrotherlyballers.